We have two things in parallel that need to happen. What we will do is to put this country right. Without political stability, nothing can happen. There is no way in which you can say, oh, tomorrow we come, everything is going to be resolved. The IMF cannot resolve our problem by themselves any longer, right? So we have two things in parallel that need to happen. One is the government and the IMF need to come into some sort of agreement on how to stabilize the economy and to agree on what's called an extended fund facility, which is a structural adjustment program that will take about 3 years. Now, while that is happening, our lawyers, yet to be appointed, unfortunately, delaying, we'll have to start talks with our bondholders, our creditors, and they will have to agree on how much of what we owe them they are willing to give up, to cut off, or haircut as they say, and for how long they are going to wait before they start collecting our money. Now, these two things have to go in parallel, and the IMF can only provide us any financial assistance if and only if we agree to a debt restructuring program with the bondholders or our creditors. Now, they won't do it unless there is agreement between the government and the IMF on a fiscal discipline program that will increase revenues, rationalize expenditures, have market clearing prices for various commodities and so on. So it's a chicken and egg situation, but we are unfortunately in it, right? So given the political situation in the country, without having a stable government, a conclusion of what has now begun with Mr. Sabri in DC cannot happen. A conclusion, I cannot see a conclusion happening unless and until a stable government that has legitimacy among the investor community is established. So that is why I say just because they have gone to the IMF does not mean anything at all anymore. If we have to take over, yes, it is going to be a difficult, at least a year or 18 months going forward, right? I mean, we are going to go through austerity like we had never before, right? And people will have to live, somehow manage to survive a very difficult period ahead of us, right? But what we will do is to put this country right. We will reset this in that, the story about how Mr. Narasimha Rao brought Dr. Manmohan Singh and Dr. Montek Singh Alwalia and reset India's economy in 1991, and how the license Raj was kicked out, and how India was opened, and how it got engaged with the rest of the world. That is what we need to do. This country needs to be integrated with the world. You see, you may have heard me say this multiple times before, and what I have always said is break down the walls around this country and build bridges from this country to the region and beyond. The only way we can do this is if we start exporting, if we start producing things that others can consume, right? So if you think about it in a sort of a very simplified way, we need to bring dollars in, right?
Yes.
Which means others have to consume what we produce, rather than us consuming what others produce. What you need is some sort of political stability, right? Without political stability, nothing can happen, right? Now, we can't get even the rapid financing instrument loan from the IMF, which is $700 to $800 million. That was a bridging finance they were hoping to get to deal with the gas issue, deal with the milk powder issue, deal with the fuel issue. But they can't get it. Why can't they get it? They can't get it because they haven't been able to find a way to get out of the unsustainable debt issue. So there is no magic bullet, Kalu. There is no way in which you can say, oh, tomorrow we come, everything is going to be resolved. No, right? We are begging India, to help us from the time the time we are going to run out of money. That is, say May, June, when the Indian credit lines finish. And they've extended it by another maybe 6 weeks or so, let's say July, and from there it stopped, right? There's no more money to bring fuel. There's no more money to bring medicine. There's no more money to do anything. From that point until we get the IMF money coming in and our credit ratings going back up, us getting back into the private credit markets and all of that. So who is going to backstop us, right? Where is this money going to come from? It's not going to come from, these people don't have anybody to get this money from, right? So what we will do is we will actually, give confidence to our friends overseas, our partners internationally, and that confidence will make sure that those people are going to step up and help us, because there is no other way. You cannot get any commercial funding unless unless they believe you have a solid debt restructuring program in place.